What's going on, guys? Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report, where we talk about the latest news and rumors. And I don't know about you guys, but I just love the NFL right now because we're actually getting into some real topics and conversations, right? We're not just grasping for straws. We got trades happening. We've got Rodgers staying in Green Bay. And so I feel like we're getting the snowball into free agency and then into the draft. So here's what's on tap for today's show. We'll look at an idea that was tossed out there after the Seahawks traded Russell Wilson. Maybe everything's for sale. So maybe the Browns could go out and trade for DK Metcalf. We'll check out that idea and what I think a trade could look like. And speaking of the Russell Wilson trade, we just saw Carson Wentz get dealt to the Washington Commies. So maybe the Browns are next for a QB trade? I don't think so, but we'll at least discuss it. And then finally, ESPN's Todd McShay came out with his latest mock draft, so we'll see who he has the Browns selecting at that number 13 overall pick. First things first, though, DK Metcalf. Trade rumors surrounding him are popping off right now following the Russell Wilson trade. I think people just kind of smell blood in the water, and they think, all right, Seattle's entering maybe a rebuild, so could we get DK Metcalf? Now, I don't think Metcalf's going to go for cheap. He was drafted in the second round, and he's proven to be a first-round talent. So I think it's going to cost a first round to get him. And what's interesting about trading for a player and then giving a first-round pick that's not a quarterback is you got to then hone in a little bit more of what kind of first-round pick? A top 10 pick or like the 30th overall pick in the first round? Because teams, they value that big time. They're not going to just trade it for any first-round pick. A 13th overall pick, though, from the Browns could be intriguing from the Seahawks. And you look at what DK has done so far in what's a very young career. And he's been one of the best wideouts. I've had him fantasy for 2 years, and he's been great to me. So if you've had him fantasy football, you know where I'm coming from. He's on the West Coast, and sometimes you kind of forget about the Chicken Hawks out there in the Pacific Northwest. But he's been great so far for Seattle. However, no Russell Wilson. Maybe Seattle looks to just gear up and get as much draft capital as possible to do a full-on rebuild. Before I give you guys a mock trade for DK Metcalf, let's just start things off by asking this question. Should the Browns trade for DK Metcalf? Is this something you'd want to pursue? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. I'll give you my opinion in just a second, but I like to hear what you guys have to say. So get down in the comment section and give me your thoughts. First things first, I think you got to look at the depth chart, right? That's kind of step one of setting the table. If we're going to trade for a wide receiver, what's our wide receiver room looking like? Well, Jarvis Landry's under contract, although it's not looking all that likely he returns. And that's going to be tough parting ways for Juice, but that's part of the business. Then DPJ becomes wide receiver one. I love DPJ. I'm a DPJ believer, but I'm not a believer in him being a top wide receiver on your team. Higgins is going to hit the market, and then Schwartz is the next man up at wide receiver too. So I could get talked into trading for DK Metcalf. It's proven talent. At the end of the day, the draft's a crapshoot. You can have bad picks. We can get another Corey Coleman. That's a possibility. So even though as of right now, when we talk about draft prospects, especially the first-round guys, we talk about them in a light where they seem draft proof, right? They're bust proof. There's no way they don't work out. Whether it's Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Traylon Burks, Drake London, they're all going to be all pros because we're just gassing them up right now. This is the NFL draft. Shit gets weird. Shit happens, It's not a guarantee. So I don't hate the idea of trading for proven talent, not having to gamble on a wide receiver when you know one's already out there. So here's an idea of a mock trade. I've got the Browns getting DK and a 7th-round draft pick because it's the NFL. I don't know. GMs love to just throw around 7th rounders for some reason. And the Seahawks get the Browns' 13th overall pick. I think that's about fair. I do. I don't know if I would do it, but I think that's what a trade would look like. That's a big difference. Would I do that first? Is that what it would go for? But let me know what you think. Would you do this trade? Type A for accept or D for decline. I think it's going to be split. I could see it going either way, and I could be talked into either way. I kind of like the idea of waiting and drafting someone for this one reason. You're going to get a wide receiver a little bit younger in his career, and you get him for 4 to 5 years on that rookie deal, whereas DK, he's entering the 4th year, so he's already that much closer to an extension, which you have to pay him big money for, whereas if you drafted a wide receiver, you get him cheaper for longer. Speaking of quarterbacks, Carson Wentz, Aaron Rodgers, and Russell Wilson are off the board. And I feel bad for Mary Kay because she's been trying to speak it into existence of trading for a quarterback and looking at some of these top names. And it seems like the herd is thinning. Carson Wentz is to Washington. Rodgers is staying in Green Bay. Russell Wilson goes to Denver. Now you're kind of looking around going, it's like what's the scene? Was it extended? Yeah, Will Smith in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's like, fuck, where'd everyone go? It's a little bit of that. So I don't think a QB trade is coming. I think the first question you have to ask yourself, whether you like Baker or not, is there an improvement out there? Russell Wilson's an improvement. Aaron Rodgers is an improvement. Deshaun Watson is an improvement. I don't think Carson Wentz is that big of an improvement, if an improvement. I think the same is true for Jimmy Garoppolo, for Trubisky, Jameis Winston. I can't confidently say those guys are a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. And that's the question Andrew Berry's asking himself. Can we improve at the position? Well, the better quarterbacks are all gone. Great. Case closed. I think it's that simple. Now, maybe you disagree with me, and that's all right. Let me know, though. Do you want the Browns to trade for a quarterback? Type T for trade or type P for pass. Sound off in the comments section down below. And while you're down there, I've got a link at rumble.com/Browns Report. So if you love getting Browns content here and you want to show some extra love to us, follow us at rumble.com/Browns Report. Just another video platform service out there. An excellent way to get uncensored news, rumors surrounding the Cleveland Browns, and anything else you're really interested. So show us some love. We're one of the top subscriber channels here at Chat Sports. We're ahead of the New York Giants channel, which my producer Marsh has. So I just like to, stick it to him a little bit when I walk in every morning and go, you see Rumble? Yeah. You like that? You like that? Carson Wentz probably doesn't like that in Washington now. So moving on, though. Latest Todd McShay mock draft. Todd McShay dropped a new mock, and it's kind of interesting because for once we get a bit of a breath of fresh air. It's not just Garrett Wilson, which I like Garrett Wilson. I like the pick of Garrett Wilson, but it's fun to get variety. It can get a little stale. So you're like, let's see some other ideas. So let's run through Todd McShay's latest mock draft that came out this morning on Wednesday. Hutchinson to the Jags. Hamilton flying up to the Lions. Ikwanu, the tackle, goes to the Texans. Evan Neal to the Jets. Trayvon Walker to the Giants. That's a name to keep an eye out for. He is just ascended up the draft board since the combine. Then we have Charles Cross going to the Panthers. Wilson, this is where it gets more relating to the Browns. Wilson goes all the way to the Giants at 7. And my producer, who, like I said, is a Giants guy, is shaking his head. Drake London also to the Falcons. Now we have two wide receivers off the board. That's going to be important to note for later. Thibodeau falls to the Seahawks at 9, who now have that Broncos pick after the trade. Ahmad Sauce Gardner to the Jets at 10. And we'll show you the Browns in just a second. But help us out if you have not subscribed already. I want to catch up to the Steelers channel we have here at Chat Sports. We've got some ground to make up, but we've got plenty of time until week 1. So that's kind of my goal for at least right now. Let's catch up to them by week 1. Hit that big red button and subscribe if you have not already. And if you're looking for a reason to subscribe, here's a good one. Do you hate the Steelers? Great. You're in a good company. You're in a good spot. Join us here. Hit that big red button. The Washington Commanders had Kenny Pickett, and I think that changes after Wentz's pick, but I don't think it impacts the Browns selection all that much. Jermaine Johnson goes to the Vikings. I like him a lot. I've been talking about him for quite some time, and now I feel like McShay listens to the show because he moved him from a second-round pick to a top half of the first round. But drum roll, please, for the Browns pick, Devonte Wyatt, the defensive tackle out of Georgia. Couple thoughts. One, very interesting that he picks Wyatt over Jordan Davis, who is the better defensive tackle at Georgia. Now, Georgia was just loaded this past season. But this does help the Browns out in a couple of ways. One, Wyatt's just a beast. Even if he's not better than Jordan Davis' teammates, he's still going to be a phenomenal player in my opinion. He's got great run-stopping ability, and he's got speed. He can help with the pass rush as well. And that's what you look for in defensive tackles in the first round. Listen, I can get a fat guy off the street to stop the run later in the draft. But can you help with the pass rush? That's why you get drafted in the first round if you're a defensive tackle. If you can do both. Now, he would help replace Malik Jackson and Malik McDowell, who are both going to hit free agency, and I just don't see either of them coming back. Jackson's getting old, and Malik McDowell, he can't go within 500 feet of a school. And finally, the Browns' biggest need is wide receiver. There's no doubt about it. But after that, I think it's defensive tackle. When you lose those two guys, that's just vacant spots on a roster, on a depth chart that need to be filled. Now let's see what Todd McShay had to say about this pick. We'll go to the horse's mouth. He says, another in a long line of Georgia defenders who impressed in Indy. Wyatt locates the football super fast and then has a 4.77 speed to close on it. That 40-yard dash time led all defensive tackles at the combine, and he was in the top 5 at the position in both the vertical, 29 inches, and broad jump, 9'3". I like the pick a lot, I think, but let me know what your pick is. Let me know what your grade is. I kind of go back and forth, so maybe you can sway me in the comment section. Grade it. A, B, C, D, or F. Sound off down below. Personally, I give it a B. The reason being is just I think defensive tackle falls lower on the priority list of a position that can really impact teams immediately. I view defensive tackles in the first round as like a cherry on top, where you already have so many other great pieces. That's just a small piece to the puzzle. I just don't know if a defensive tackle can step in and wreck games. Maybe edge rushers can, but defensive tackle, unless you're Aaron Donald, and I don't think this is Aaron Donald, I just don't see that happening. Although I can understand if Wilson and London are off the board, well, you go, you know what? It's such a deep wide receiver class. We can get someone in the second round and the third round and then come away with one of the top defensive linemen, although I think I would have gone with like Treylon Burks or Chris Olave at that spot. All right, that's going to do it for us here on the channel. We'll catch up with you guys later, but until then, go Browns.